Hello everyone, it is Sukasa from Su Games at Twitch, Sucraft over at YouTube, and today I'm going to be doing a tutorial playthrough of Sins of a Solar Empire Rebellion. This is a really awesome space RTS that I highly recommend. It is just an excellent game, highly polished, just very well done. I mean, there is an absurd amount of content and features in this game. Very feature rich. I've been playing it for several years now. Ever since the game first came out, really, back in like 2006, I picked it up. And they've done several expansion packs since then. Entrenchment, Diplomacy, and then a combination of all of those that called Trinity, that had the base game and the expansions packaged with it. And the latest version now, it is a standalone expansion pack that has all of the features of the previous ones and the base game all packaged into one, as well as a lot of new features that they've added, like sub-factions called Rebellion. You can get it now on Steam. But yeah, it is very feature-rich. A lot to the game. It can seem a little overwhelming at first, but fear not, I'm going to do a tutorial on it and show you guys some of the strategies and tips and tricks and quirks I've learned from playing it over the years. So yeah, this is episode 0, in which I'm going to cover how to find a map size and set up a map and customize it with the AI opponents and everything you need to know about that, and just run down some of the interface options. In episode 1, the next episode, will be the gameplay and starting a match and showing you, some of the things you need to do right off the bat. So, anyway, without further ado, let me run down some of the things you need to know. In the options here, this is the user interface options. If you want your screen to look just like mine, make sure that these options match. I've changed a few things in here. So yeah. I'm running on the maximum graphics. It doesn't default to maximum no matter how good your computer is, so you might want to bump these up yourself. And something other important I wanted to cover is your manage files. If, unlike most games, there's not a delete button next to the save or load button when you're looking at that, you have to come into the options and go to manage files here to delete specific save game files. Be careful though, don't hit this erase current set, because that will erase everything in here. So if you like 2 maps in here, like I got 2 maps, actually I got like 3 of them, and you just want to delete one because you're not going to go back to that map, just pick out those by left clicking it and then hit erase. So also the change save type, you click this with your left click, you can go forward and find autosaves and cloud saved on the Steam cloud. You have to manually turn that feature on for that to even work, but I don't know. And then you have multiplayer save games, and if you click one too many times, a really neat feature with the game is you hit the right click on the mouse and it goes back one. So that's a really neat, good thing to keep in mind, because it works like that in pretty much every interface option throughout the entire game. So it's very useful bit of info. You can right click to go backwards. Okay, so now how do I get into and set up a map? Go to single player. You could play it on multiplayer, but for your first several games, I would highly recommend you don't play multiplayer. Play single player. Get a hang of the game. There is a lot to it. I mean, a lot. And until you figure out, what you're supposed to be doing in an early game, how you're supposed to progress, what you need to research to be competitive and to stay on top of things, you really need to learn that by playing against the AI. Also, the AI in this game is incredibly good. Just unbelievably good. Anyway, you can play these tutorials. I highly recommend them. They're excellent, very well done. They're interactive tutorials that put you down in a match, and for like a 5-minute tutorial, it will show you how to move your ships by having you mouse over them and move them manually. So it's interactive, it's very well done, it teaches you a lot about the game, and a lot of more advanced stuff on how to do stuff. So I highly recommend them, very well done, definitely worth looking at. One of the first things you need to do though is obviously set up your player, and come in here, you can customize your picture set. Not all that important, but it will be your picture in like the diplomacy window. You're not going to see that a lot. One thing that is very important though is come in here and change your theme. This will be It will be displayed next to every building you own, next to every planet, next to every ship. So come in here and find you a color and an icon that you like, that you can, you know, see at a glance and know that that represents it's yours. I like to go with gold. I don't know, it looks cool. And obviously the T, it matches Tsukasa, so that's what I've been rolling with for years. And you can change your name, your player name, in here too. So, and once you have that set up, it is permanently set up, and you never have to mess with that again. Anyway, let's load up a new game here. I think every time you start the game, by default, it goes to small maps. There's a crap ton of different maps, different sizes. You can go with random, which is just a procedurally generated map. It is completely different every single time you load one up. And there's many different sizes of them I'll run through. But if it has a name next to it, like Empires at War or New Dawn, these are preset, almost like scenarios that the devs have made up, with different star configurations, different planet configurations, but they're always the same. Every time you load up Empires of War, there's always going to be the same planets in the same order, and it's always the same map. Whereas with the random ones, they're always completely different. You will never, ever have the same map twice if you do random. The tiny ones are just that they are tiny. You can only have 2 players, so you and 1 AI, and only 15 planets at 1 star. Very small, very small. It would be a very fast map. The next size up bumps it from 15 to 22 planets, but it's still really tiny. I really don't like these small maps. They're just too small for my taste. Some of them are very well done though, like Balance of Power I played before, Empires at War, it's very well done. So yeah, that's just something to think of. Worth giving some of these a try. The other thing I wanted to mention here is competitive. The competitive maps, the devs have gone in, and these are mostly for multiplayer. Some people had complaints about imbalances, where the planets on one end, you could have, you know, 4 asteroids at, and you get more resources, and the guy that starts on the other side of the map, he would not have that many. He would only, his planet might only have 2 asteroids at it, so he would have less resources. And to keep that from happening, they went in and changed the algorithm so it's always equally balanced everywhere throughout the map. So if you want a, you know, balanced, perfectly balanced one, click competitive. It's mostly, you know, though, for multiplayer competitive, playing against another human kind of thing. Also, it turns off artifacts. Artifacts and planetary bonuses are removed from the competitive. They're kind of cool. You can like research planet exploration and find these artifacts that give a specific bonus depending on the artifact found. They can be very powerful though, so they can cause an imbalance in multiplayer competitive matches. So yeah, something to keep in mind. Anyway, changing the map down here is going to bump it up to the next larger size from small to medium maps. I would recommend these as a starting point. They're very well sized, really. You got random medium, which is for 4 players and 36 planets. If you're new to RTSs, this is an excellent place to start, and I would highly recommend it for your first couple of maps. Go with something like this. It's a little bit smaller, easier to get wrap your head around it, and to get started with. 36 planets is a pretty decent size. You can just go with yourself and 3 AI, set them to like easy difficulty or normal difficulty, and hop in with that. If you're, you know, more used to RTSs, if you've played Age of Empires, Command and Conquer, and all that before in the past, and you know how an RTS works, maybe bump that up to medium large. 56 planets, only 1 star, and 6 players. That's a really good place to start, and probably, you know, go with normal difficulty AI. The AI, as I said, is very good in this game, though. So even if you are an veteran RTS player, for your first match, I would highly recommend normal. It is nothing. It is no joke. There is nothing to scoff at. The AI is so good in this game. It's something you have to see for yourself. If you played a few matches and you got the hang of the game, you want a bigger map, click Change Maps down here. and it will bump it up to the largest maps, and there's less preset ones in here, but more random procedurally generated options. Once you get the hang of the game, this is going to be your bread and butter, so to speak. My mainstay is the large multi-star. Everything below large maps are all single-star systems. There's pretty good, decent. Looks like the large, medium. It's 56 planets. That's a pretty good-sized map, but it's only a 1 star, so it adds a whole different level of strategy to the game to play with more than 1 star. And if you really don't want to play with 3, you don't have to. You can do large single, which is just about the same amount of planets, but all in 1 star system. So there's a lot of different options in here for you to find something that suits what you want to do. They put a lot of time and effort into that, which is awesome. So besides the large, you also have huge, which really does bump it up to a crazy huge level. It goes up from like 82 all the way up to 142 planets with 5 stars and a maximum of 10 players. That's crazy big. You can literally play this map for like a week. It's just nuts. But it's very good for like multiplayer. Going with these larger maps for multiplayer is awesome. And for Rebellion, they've added even bigger than that. You got a huge ring, which is a new unique type, which is like it's in a ring shape. I've not played that yet. I'm gonna have to try that out sometime. But they've also added vast, which is pretty much the same stars, or rather, sorry, the same amount of planets as the huge multi, but instead of being broken up into 5 stars, it's all in one vast star system. So, I mean, once you get the hang of the game and how to maneuver around, try out the multi-star systems. I like them, but if you don't, it always gives you the option to do a single-star system. So that's pretty cool. Moving between stars requires some advanced research options. You can't just do that right off the bat. You have to research specific things to enable you to travel from one star to the other. And I'm going to cover all of that and how to do that in the tutorial, because I'm going to go with a large multi, I think. It's a really good map size. It's just very balanced. It's my mainstay. 3 stars and 82 planets. So let's make us one of these. Alright, so right off the bat, you're presented with this, where you can customize your options. You can set teams. I think, as I mentioned earlier, you can right-click to back up. So if you click one too many times, you can right-click and back up without having to go all the way around. It's a really neat little feature. Right here where it says random, that is your race, your faction. You left-click that, and it will change it to whatever you want it to be instead of random. Or you could just leave it as random. That's up to you. But I would recommend the TEC for your first run-through. They are balanced. They take a more balanced approach to economy and to research and to war pursuits, I guess I should say. And their ships are equally balanced with shields and hull. They don't have a bunch of shields and they don't have a bunch of hull, but they don't have a small amount of hull. And anyway. Whereas the other two races take a more specialized sort of approach. Like the Visari, if you click these buttons here, it will send you to the Visari. That's the Visari icon, and that's the Advent icon. So you can click here and change the race. The Visari take a more militant aspect. They're more aggressive in their warfare sort of things. Less economic researches, more warfare stuff. They also have less shields on their ships generally, and more hull. So they will have like 7,000 hull points on a ship, whereas the TEC might only have 5,000. And the Advent are the exact opposite of that, whereas they take a more research-oriented, cultural influence sort of approach. Their ships are more long-range, more strike craft with fighters and bombers, and more shield-oriented. As I said, if just hypothetically, if a Visari ship had 7,000 hit points and, you know, like 1,000 or shields, the TEC would have 2,000 shields and 5,000 hit points. The Advent would be just the opposite and would have, you know, like 3,000 hit points, but, you know, like 3 or 4,000 shields. So it works out kind of to be balanced. So it's really all up to you. They're all equally good. It's just what fits your own personal playstyle more. So the TEC fits my playstyle more, so that's what I normally play as. I've played the other two though before. I really don't like the Advent personally, just because their playstyle doesn't mesh with mine as much. The Visari I like a bit more. They're pretty good. They get some unique stuff. I'm not going to go through all of that though. For this, I'm going to play what I know best, which is the TEC, because one thing is the research trees and all the ships and everything is completely different for each of the three races. Just totally different. So your progression is different. Something that might only require 3 civic research stations with the TEC, that same sort of thing might take, you know, 5 research stations with Visari, or only 1 with Advent. So everything is totally different and changed up for each one of the races. It is a really unique experience that a lot of games are kind of just, you know, cookie cutter copy paste. Not in this game. Very unique. Anyway, the next thing you've probably already noticed is there's 2 factions within each one, Loyalist and Rebel. That is something new that Rebellion has added. Each has 5 unique research things that are only it can get. So, battlefield promotions, for example. Your capital ship gains more battle experience when fighting in a friendly gravity well. That is something that only the Loyalists get and the Rebels don't get. Truce amongst rogues, something that only the Rebels get, the Loyalists don't. You can read through here, it gives you a bit of an idea on their philosophy, so to speak. Like the Loyalist has more of a defensive philosophy, so all of their bonuses are more defensive oriented, like star bases. They can place 2 star bases at a planet instead of only 1, like normal. They get cheaper upgrades on star bases, whereas the Rebels get more offensive stuff. If you're at a planet and you're bombing that planet, all of the ships in your fleet will get a 15 or 30% damage boost while bombing. So they're more of a offensive oriented sort of playstyle. Also, one thing that Rebellion has added is a super capital ship, I guess you could say. You still have your normal capital ships, but you also have a gigantic, almost flagship ship called the Titan. You can only own 1 of them. They're extremely expensive, but they're also extremely powerful. And each race gets 2. How do I explain that? Well, each sub-faction gets a unique one. So the Loyalists get this Ankyllian prototype, that's their Titan, and they can only build the Ankyllian prototype. The Ragnarov is the Titan that the Rebels get, and the Rebels can only build the Ragnarov. You can't play as the Rebels and get the Ankyllian. And each one has a unique playstyle that fits the overall philosophy of that subfaction. Like I was saying earlier, the Loyalist things are more defense-oriented, and that's reflected in their Titan. The Ankyllian's abilities, the unique abilities that it gets, are more defensive-oriented, like placing a shield bubble around the fleet that it's in, and sticking with the Rebels' more offensive-oriented nature. The Ragnarok prototype is an offensive weapon that is very powerful. Its abilities, instead of projecting a shield around the rest of the fleet like the Ankyllian does, it's got a massive railgun that does just an absurd amount of damage when it hits. So each one is, you know, unique and has different pros and cons, and I recommend playing them all, you know, to figure out what matches your playstyle. But just by reading through here, you can kind of get a sense of what each one's philosophy is, to see if that matches up with your own personal playstyle. So something to look into, and as I said, each one of these things are unique to that sub-faction. Anyway, though, I'm going to go with the Loyalist. Really, I like both, but I don't know, just for this playthrough, I'm going to do Loyalist TEC. Alright, so that's how you set your race and your sub-faction. The other things in here you need to know are this button here on the left determines that player slot. So for this particular map, its maximum players is 8, but you don't have to play with 8. If you click this button here, it will turn off and lock that slot. So you can play an 8-player map with just 2 players if you wanted to. I mean, that would be kind of crazy with just an absurd amount of planets to be only fighting one guy, but you could do it if you really wanted to. But I'm going to play with, I think, 6 of them. Yeah, I'm going to turn 2 of them off, so that way I can have 2 people from each faction. 1 Rebel and 1 Loyalist for each one. So I'm going to set that up. Let's go to the TC Rebel, and then a Advent Loyalist, and... oh, wait, hold up. I don't like that icon. There you go. That's another neat little trick here. If you just turn on and off that slot, sometimes it will change its icon. There we go. Go with the Rebel on that one. That looks good. And the Sorry. Loyalist, Rebel, Rebel, Loyalist. Alright, that's one of each. Now this icon, just like before when I was showing you in your player setup, you can change the icon and color of your AI opponent. I would recommend something that you can remember. The way I do it is I have a system. Like blues and greens are TEC, purples and pinks are Advent, because they're more of a matriarchal society with like a high priestess in charge. So I go with like a pink or a light color that I can remember that by. And then the Sorry, they're more of a militant, warlike, creepy, wicked dudes. So I go with darker colors like reds and oranges. It's just something that I do so that way, no matter what map I'm playing, what save game I'm playing, if I load it up, I can immediately tell at a glance, from that guy's color and his icon, and know exactly what he is. So it's just my own personal system. Anyway, I'm gonna set this guy to blue, and I go with like a that looks like the UN symbol, really. So it kind of matches the Terran or the TEC. Pink, I go with these sorts of icons for them, more of a religious sort of symbol, maybe. I don't know, because they're kind of a religious fanatics. I don't know, I guess you'd say, in the lore of it at least. Red, yeah, the Visari, like I said, they're kind of wicked aliens, like lizard people. So I go with these more wicked looking symbols for them. It's just my system. You can do it however the heck you want. Alright. The other thing, you got teams. I think I said that earlier. You could set them to be teams. So I could set these Visari to be on the same team with each other, and these Advent to be on the same team as each other, and set this guy to be on my team. You can customize that to your heart's extent, however the heck you want it. But for demonstration purposes, to show you how the diplomacy side of the game works, where with raising faction standing with a different team, or rather how to form a team by raising your faction standing with someone, to be able to show you that, I'm not going to be able, I'm going to have to leave them unteamed up. So yeah, I'm going to leave that way. This button here, this question mark, this is the AI behavior. If you click this, you can set its behavior type. You have aggressor, more of a, they're not going to build as many defense structures, they're going to build more ships and have a tendency to come after you, maybe even rushing you early game if they can find you and do that. The fortifier, less likely to send ships at you at first. They're going to build up their defenses, they're going to build more star bases and defensive structures and build up their fleet first. That's more my playstyle anyway. They have researcher, they're going to spend more time working on getting advanced researches, projects going. The economist is going to build more trade ports and maybe even be more inclined to get a trade pact with you. Those are the 4 different archetypes. I normally just leave it on random, but you can customize it to be however you want. And this little chevron icon here, that's the difficulty setting. So if you right click the back up one, you can set it to easy. If you're new to the RTSs, I would highly advise for your first couple of matches, go with easy, so you can get the hang of the game. If you're not new to RTSs and you're a veteran, you played older games like Command and Conquer, StarCraft, Age of Empires, whatnot. So you know the whole RTS playstyle, I would advise go with normal difficulty, so that way you can get a hang of the game and it won't be a pushover. I can tell you that. If you're experienced with Sins of Solar Empire and played the game before, it could be a pushover. But hard difficulty is no joke. That it is hard. It is a good challenge, even for a veteran player of the game. Certainly for a veteran player of the genre, it is a good challenge. I've been playing the game for 7 years, ever since the original base game came out, and I still find hard difficulty a good challenge. And then it goes on beyond that. You got unfair, which is literally just that. It is unfair. It is difficult to the point of, oh my god. It's just crazy. It's like playing a human. It really is. Even hard difficulty can act like a person. I've been playing a multiplayer map before where the human player, he disconnected, and if that happens, the AI takes over. And the AI took over and was playing as him for 45 minutes until I noticed. And the reason I didn't notice for 45 minutes is because the AI was playing so well, it was literally indistinguishable from the actions a human would have taken. It's just mind-blowingly good. You gotta see it to believe it, but it's the truth. And then beyond that, you got cruel and vicious. I mean, these settings are just mind-blowingly hard. I mean, it's like playing against one of those Korean tournament RTS guys. It's that hard. It's nuts. It really is vicious. I would not recommend these really difficult settings unless you're experienced with the game, you know the progression arc, and like you're playing multiplayer where you and one of your friends are teamed up on a team together playing against one of these really hard difficulty settings. That can be epic fun. So anyway, yeah, new to the genre, stick with easy. New to the game, stick with normal. If you want a really good challenge, bump it up to hard. If you're masochistic, put it on unfair. And if you're just, I don't even know, there's not even a word for that sort of crazy, then bump it up to vicious. Anyway, a couple of other things. You got game options in here, down here at the bottom. If you don't like the pirates, you can turn them off, no big deal. Now you have to set this beforehand. If you start a game and you find out you don't like pirates, well, tough crap. You have to stick with that. Start a new game and turn them off. You can only access these options right now before the game starts. If you lock teams, so say if you set one of the AI players to be on your team, you click lock teams, he cannot leave that team. No one else can join your team. It is locked throughout the entire game. I don't know. I would never do that, but if you want, there it is. You can bump up the fleet sizes. I would just leave it at normal. If you want really small fleets, because your computer can't handle all of that going on the screen, you can bump that down to small. If you just want a massive fleet, then you can do it with large. I don't really see a lot of necessity in that, because you can get some really big fleets going just at normal. Quick start is by default turned on. All that does is just gives you like 2 scout frigates, so you don't have to construct them yourself. It puts down the capital ship factory for you, so you don't have to construct that yourself, and it builds the 3 resource asteroids at your home planet. That's all it does. I'm actually going to turn that off just to demonstrate right off the bat of how to place structures and whatnot. So I'm going to turn that off for this run through. You can also set the credit income gain, the build speed, and all of that, just basically how fast the game progresses. I would advise putting it on normal. If you're trying to learn the game, say you're new to RTSs, and things just happen too quickly for you to keep grasp on, right-click these options and you can turn them all down to slow, and it will slow things down for you, so you can think a little bit and plan stuff out and just get your mind around the game without it having it out of control and progressing too fast for you. I'm just going to leave it on normal, I think, and I'll just use the pause function a lot. You could turn it up if you want a really fast game. You can turn it up quite a bit and it goes really, really fast, but I don't know. I don't find it necessary, because if you hit the equal button right next to backspace, if you hit equal, it will speed up the game to 2 times speed, and you hit it again, it goes to 4 times speed, and you hit it again, it goes to 8 times speed. So if you're like just waiting on getting 1,000 credits so you can build something, and you don't want to have to just wait for it, you can just bump up the speed a little bit and then slow it back down by hitting the minus button right next to it. So I don't know. So you can manually change that game speed in game. But yeah, I'm just gonna leave it on normal. You also have victory options, different stuff, kind of standard strategy fare, diplomatic victory, research victory, where there's a really long research tree, and at the end, if you research that really expensive thing, it just ends the game. Whoever researches that first wins. I don't like those sorts of things. I like just conquest, and if you leave all these off, it's just basic conquest, crush everyone sort of victory. You can turn allied victory on, so if you set one of the guys to be your team member, once you and your team member defeat everyone else, the game ends. If you don't have that turned on, then once you and your team member defeat everyone else, then you have to fight your team member, and the AI will break its alliance with you if it's just you and that guy left. So that's up to you. And there are different options in here. Flagship victory, it gives you a flagship you possess. If you lose it, game over. You lose your capital planet, game over. So a little different stuff to spice things up. It's up to you. I'm going to leave these all off. So that's that. I hope you found it informative, and hope it helped you out. If you did enjoy, if you're watching on YouTube, I'm going to upload this from Twitch to my YouTube channel at Sucraft. If you're watching it there, as always, clicking that thumbs up is much appreciated. And if you want to see more from me, please subscribe. And follow me at twitch.tv SuGames, TZU Games. So until next time, though, Sukasa signing out. Hope you all have a good one.